Welcome back to Travis Teaches Guitar. This is beginner guitar lesson number 4 in this series. And last time we went over the D chord, A chord before that, and the E chord, and some techniques for strumming. And I just want to expand on some of those ideas in this session. And so let's get started. All right, so I want to do something new today again too. I'm going to put a graphic down here every now and again when I'm showing you chords. But mostly what I want you to know is I want you to know these chords, especially in the end, by their note names, what notes make up the chord. So you don't have to look through a book to know how to make a chord that you already know. And I have some easy formulas for you to know that I'll give you a little bit later, but I'm going to give you the chords first and let you get used to them. And then I'll reveal this trick that I use to come up with chords. So, first graphic up, your E chord, which is made up of E, B, E, and G sharp. Starting from the low E, and the B on the A string, my second finger, my third finger, and then my first finger on the G sharp. Makes a nice pretty E. And you got A, which you can finger like this with your pinky. Some people do it like this. I've even seen some people do it like this and have their first finger on the E and their second finger, or their second finger on the E, the first finger on the A, and then their third finger, the ring finger, on the C sharp. I even bar it. I will use both ways. Most commonly, I'll use these 3 fingers because I will switch to an A minor, which I'll show you later. I try to finger my chords or fret them, fret them, however you call them. I try to be as economical with my movement as I can be mindful of it. So I don't want to be making a bunch of excess movement up here. Because when you're switching chords, you don't want to have your hands flying all around doing this stuff. You want nice fluid movements. So we're going to go into that a little bit later on too. So the third chord from last week is D, which is D, A, D, and F sharp. You can see how they're fingered down there. 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger, 4 finger. And this is your thumb. For the fingerstyle people, if I put up there, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, just like normal. And this is your thumb. That's usually signified by P, but I will go into that a little bit later if it comes to. What we're looking for is just basic chord strumming. Now, I admonish you to experiment around with some and to use your metronome. I have it set on 80 here. Let's turn the volume back up. Two, 3, 4. You can get this with the strumming. Last time I showed you like in an arcing motion. You don't have to get that exaggerated. There is subtleties to your rhythm playing that you will pick up as you go along. This is why I told you to experiment with this stuff. Generally, put some wrist into it. Don't have to do this and be all stiff. sometimes I'm hitting the top of the chord. You don't have to sweep all the way through all the strings. You'll hear certain things, and you should listen to music as you start learning more and more chords. Get the sounds of these chords into your head. Listen to people's rhythms. Really zero in, like on the guitars, especially the acoustic guitars in your music. If your music that you listen to doesn't have acoustic guitars, electric guitars, it works just fine. Cause that's how I grew up, is playing to heavy metal, but still playing in the acoustic guitar. It's still the same. Electric is the same as an acoustic. It's just a little bit more sturdy of a guitar without all the effects and fancy stuff. It's just clean. So the chord I want to introduce you today, 2 chords actually, but the first of which is the popular G chord. Right there. You're going to have your 3rd finger on the G here. You should know these notes by now. If you do not, you should study them and get to know and familiar with these notes. You're going to have your ring finger on the G, your 2nd finger, your middle finger on the B. Your 3rd finger or your pinky is going to go on the G, on the high G, on the high E string, string number 1. This finger's kind of just going to be relaxed and staying there. So this chord, you're going to go all the way through, because the root of the chord is up here on the G. This is a nice, pretty sounding chord. They all are, but now this is a full G as well. You can play it like this, and it depends on how you want to finger it. I have the fingerings down there for this as well. This version, you'll see that it's a little bit more, it has a little bit different sound. It's because we're adding this D here with your ring finger. This is the way I learned G, and I learned it because of this song right here. Every rose has its thorn, just like every night has its dawn. You can throw the D in there, just like every cowboy sings a sad, sad song. Every rose has its thorn. Nothing complicated. It's all coming out of those 3 chords right there. The G, C, G, C. This is actually C. I was using this C. I used to use this C as a cheater, but that is not actually C. That is C add 9, is what they call that. We're going to learn the traditional C, which you could use at. Okay? G. This is how I like to make it because it's easier to switch to the C, because it's like this. If you watch my fingers, put them down, boom. There's the C. Economy of movement. Boom. I'm lifting up one finger and putting down my first finger. My fingers are basically already in position. If I do it like this, in order to make that C, boom, I have to make this switch right here, which I can do that because I've been doing it a long time. But at first, it can be a little bit challenging to make that kind of a transition. Be easy on yourself from the gate. But you can learn it both ways. It doesn't hurt anything. And you'll figure out which works best for you. So here, I'm using the G, B, the open D, the open G, my ring finger on the D, my pinky on the G. Whereas here, it's G, B, D, G, open B, and then my pinky again on the G. The C chord is made up of C, E, and G. C here being the root, which normally is going to be the bass string generally. You can change them up, but we'll go into that later again. So it's made up of C, your 3rd finger here, your 2nd finger, your middle finger on the E, your open G, there's your C, E, G, and then you double it up with a C up at the top with your 1st finger. Gives you your C chord. Now this chord goes with this chord, goes with this chord. There's all kinds of songs that you can go with G, C, and D. You've noticed that D also works with the A. You can also use G. Two versions. That's kind of a quick switch if you want to do it like that, but you need to get your fingers started, and when you do that, it still needs to be clean. It can't be all like that. You don't want it like that. I'm just showing you different combinations of chords that you can use and experiment now that you have 2 new chords to add to your library. Now, when you're making these chords, your thumb, your pad of your thumb should be, for the most part, back here resting behind the guitar, like that. Like this. Like this. When you advance in playing a little bit, you can get away with having it wrapped up around here. But until you get your hands strengthened up, have it on the back for good form. That'll help you get nice clean chords, okay? Keep you up on your fingertips, which is where you should be, as I explained before. Play on your fingertips. Do not play on the pads. Even if it looks like I am not. I have a steady line right through the middle of my fingers because I always am on my fingertips like that. And that's where you should be, because that is where every time you make a chord and you are unsure if you have it right, this is when you have it right. Here there's no rattling, and this is effortless. Here is where it gets fun. Here is where some of your patience is needed. Okay? In order to play songs, I'll go through a G, C, D and just explain what I'm talking. I'm gonna go through it with my fingers. See, I switched pretty seamlessly through that. A good way to get used to fluid, because you want a fluid. This is why I talked about the economy of movement. You want a nice fluid transition through your chords. Nice and fluid. You don't want to be... You're going to be playing on a beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have in between the beats to switch that chord. So think in the beginning, visualize how your fingers are landing for the next chord. Practice that. You don't need to strum it at first. You can just practice and visualize how your fingers are going to go. Right? In the chords that you're playing. Just start out with 3. G, C, and D is a good one. Or the A, D, and E. That's also good. Those chords all go together. When you get comfortable and you're switching and you get confident, try to take your hand down and then put them back. Boom. Like that. And see if they're in place. Right? Because that's a pretty big movement. Now try a D. Try a C. Try an A. Try a D. Try a G. Like that. You want a nice, fluid, non-tense movement going up there. Get comfortable switching chords and switching them clean. You don't have to smash them and kill the neck and your fingertips trying to smash those chords in. You don't have to do that. Use those 2 ways that I gave you to try to, and if you've got something different in your head to help you, depends on how you learn. But the end result, the goal, needs to be smooth transitioning. You can listen to your songs, and this is what I always recommend. Listen to the music that you love to listen to, that you can stand listening to all the time, and learn those songs. Okay? Learn them by ear if you can. You don't have to know the chord. You could just go through the E string if it's in tune and find it on one string. Right? Generally, wherever it's going to be on this string is going to be the root of the chord. So say you find that song and you clearly hear that it's in G, or that this note is matching, you know, how anything in the song, you can pretty much, it's going to be some flavor of G, right? It might be a minor or something, but you're going to be able, get your ear used to hearing this guitar and the music that you love. Don't cheat yourself by never developing this ear. This is the most important thing to a musician, is your ear and the ability to hear music, to hear inside of it. When I'm talking about hear it, I mean your ear should effortlessly hear inside. Maybe you have drums, a singer, a bass. Your ear should be able to hone in on whatever instrument you want it to hone in on and hear, right? I'm not talking about perfect pitch where you can recall a note. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you should be able to hear the difference. You should be able to hear that this is the same as this, that this is the same as this, that this is the same as this. Go through these strings. Get those tones of those notes in your head. When you do, and you hear a song, you're going to be like, the light's going to go on. Excuse me. Got all choked up. But the light is going to go on at some point, and you're going to say, oh, I know that you're going to, one of these chords is going to be like your favorite chord, and you're going to tune up your guitar and you're going to hit a chord. G has always been that way for me. I know when the G sounds good, that my guitar sounds, all the rest of them are going to be good, because that's my chord right there. I've always loved the G chord. I don't know why, maybe because every rose has a story. But when that's good, it's all good, right? So you're going to hear and have your own little things to deal with. Okay, practice your chords, practice that exercise, and you're going to keep improving. I promise you that, because there's no way you won't not improve from doing that, because you're learning so many things that are going to come into benefit for you that you're not even going to realize. I'm getting you past all these habits that a lot of people, they form in the beginning and then are a hindrance to them later. You're not going to have that, and you're going to thank me for that. Okay? Until next time, keep practicing.